At 14, my father struck me twice and threw me into a Wisconsin snowstorm, all because of my sister's lies. I nearly froze to death, but my mother made sure justice was served. The door slammed behind me, echoing not just through the blizzard, but deep within me. I stood there, shoeless and coatless, my cheek burning with the imprint of his hand. Through the glass, I saw my sister, Hannah, her lips curled into a slow, satisfied smile as she walked away. December nights in Wisconsin fall early. By 5:30 p.m., darkness swallowed the sky. That evening, the normally lively kitchen felt silent as I bent over my math problems. The snow piled up outside, heavy and relentless, while the Weather Service warnings filled the radio. Hannah, 17, had decided she wanted to go to the mall with her friends. For once, our father refused. The roads were icy and visibility poor, the storm intensifying by the minute. Hannah's expression shifted rapidly. First, shock at being denied, then anger, and finally a calculating coldness. She stomped upstairs, slamming her door, rattling the frames in the hall. I, for once, was invisible, a silent observer of the unfolding tension. But beneath the surface, dark currents ran deep, and peace was only an illusion. 25 minutes later, Hannah appeared at the bottom of the stairs. Her makeup was smeared, her shirt torn, and her sobs seemed deliberate and theatrical. My father dropped his newspaper, stunned. Hannah spun a complex story, accusing me of following her, attacking her, ripping her clothes, and saying, "I wish she'd never been born." Each claim, punctuated by her tears, was more absurd than the last. She painted me as envious, threatening, and dangerous. A textbook example of calculated manipulation. People like Hannah know how to fabricate detailed falsehoods, exploiting emotional weaknesses to achieve their goals. My father, absorbed in her apparent suffering, did not question her account. His anger turned toward me, cold and unfamiliar. I tried to explain, pointing to my math homework, pencil lines and half-solved problems proving I had been at the table the entire time. He did not listen. Perhaps he was too angry, perhaps her act was that convincing. He grabbed my arm, jerking me from the chair, shattering a glass of water. Hannah's cries continued, feeding his fury. He accused me of harming his favorite child, questioning my character, his grip tightening with each word. My mother was away, caring for her sister, a fact Hannah had certainly noted. The first slap struck, searing and breath-stealing. I tasted blood from my mouth, shocked by the violence. The second blow sent me backward, hitting the kitchen counter. Hannah's tears had ceased. She watched from the doorway, expression cold and satisfied. Her plan had unfolded exactly as she intended. My father's reaction, fueled by confirmation bias and emotional triggers, blinded him to the truth. He hauled me to the front door, ignoring my protests. The storm had worsened. I was pushed outside, barefoot, gloveless, wearing only a light jacket. The door slammed behind me. The cold was brutal, the wind tearing at my clothes, the snow soaking through my feet. I knocked and shouted, but no one responded. Hannah folded her arms, watching me freeze before turning away. I had to move or risk death. Sophie, my friend, lived 5 streets away. Normally a short walk, it became a hazardous trek in the storm. Snow blurred boundaries, visibility dropped, and drifts swallowed my legs. My hands were numb, my face burned from frostbite, my lungs stung with cold air. Every lit home was a reminder of warmth I could not reach. Shame prevented me from seeking help. Finally, Sophie's house appeared, a golden light in the white chaos. I staggered up the porch, tripped, and collided with the door. Kicking it, I was led in by Mrs. Collins, who immediately tended to my frozen face. Blankets, warm clothes, and hot cocoa followed. Sophie appeared, shocked. The Collins family did not question me immediately, but offered care first. Mrs. Collins examined my bruises, photographed them as evidence. Mr. Collins brought dry clothing and thick socks. I began to thaw, shaking uncontrollably, the storm outside matched by the storm within. Once I calmed, the story poured out, the lies, the abuse, the cold betrayal. Mrs. Collins's face shifted between shock and protective anger. Collins was silent, a weight heavier than any shouting. Attempts to contact my family failed. My father ignored the calls or silenced the phone. Mrs. Collins left a careful message, assuring my safety, withholding the full horrors. Sleep was impossible. My mind replayed the events, haunted most by Hannah's calculated expression. This was no impulsive rage. It was carefully orchestrated for my mother's absence. Hannah had wanted the mall. My father had said no, and I became a pawn to distract him. The following morning, my mother arrived, navigating treacherous roads through 3 feet of snow. She saw me at the Collins house, my injuries documented by Mrs. Collins. The bruises and handprints revealed the violence I had endured. My mother, usually calm and composed, wept as she listened to my story. For the first time, I saw her raw emotion, her grief for what had been done to her daughter. If you want, this event marked a turning point in the family dynamic, a moment when the old, dysfunctional balance could no longer continue. My mother, who had previously been absent or passively accepting, became the driving force for change. Her response demonstrated the psychological strength needed to confront abuse and set firm boundaries. The drive home was quiet. Mom gripped the steering wheel tightly, her knuckles white, yet her expression remained calm and controlled, the same mask she wore when dealing with difficult patients. Watching her, I felt a glimmer of hope. Things would never be the same, but they would be different. At home, Dad sat at the kitchen table reading the Sunday paper. Seemingly ordinary, his expression shifted from surprise to remorse as he saw me. The bruises on my face and arm told the story clearly. He opened his mouth to speak, but Mom raised her hand, silently commanding him to stay quiet. When she spoke, her calm but authoritative voice left no room for argument. Just listen. Hannah appeared in the doorway, still in pajamas, hair messy from sleep. She froze, her mind calculating. Mom's gaze unsettled her, prompting a hesitant step back. Mom calmly laid out the facts. The timing of the events confirmed I had been at the kitchen table. When Hannah claimed I attacked her, we had the testimony of the Collins family, photographs documenting Dad's violence, and a medical evaluation confirming minor frostbite, exposure injuries that could have been fatal given the storm. Dad attempted to justify his actions, claiming he was protecting Hannah, but even he seemed to realize his reasoning was hollow. Mom detailed the harsh weather conditions, the danger I had faced, and the near certainty that I might not have survived. Then she turned to Hannah. Tell the truth. Hannah's face moved through defiance, calculation, and finally dread. She was skilled at lying, but not enough to fool Mom. Eventually, she confessed, quietly and unwillingly. She wanted to go to the mall, had been upset when denied, and had deliberately created a diversion. She admitted to smudging her makeup, tearing her own clothes, and fabricating the story of my attack. Dad's face turned pale as the reality hit him. He had nearly killed his own daughter, acting on a deliberate lie. His hands trembled uncontrollably. Mom's response was precise and unyielding. She had already arranged everything from the Collins residence, calls made, legal processes initiated. Dad would move out immediately. She had contacted a divorce attorney. The home was to be sold, and custody of me would be hers, with no visitation for him until I decided otherwise. Dad tried to argue, claiming it was a mistake and that he deserved another chance. Mom remained unwavering. One mistake, she said, had nearly killed his child and revealed catastrophic poor judgment. He had failed in the most basic duty of a father, to protect his children. Hannah would finish the school year before moving in with Dad. Her lie had exploited his trust and endangered me for something as trivial as a mall trip. Her protests were loud, claiming she hadn't meant for things to escalate. Mom's expression never wavered. Actions have consequences, she said. Dad packed his belongings under Mom's supervision, ensuring he took only his possessions. His apologies were hollow. They could not undo the abuse, the snowstorm, or the betrayal. He left before midday, Mom watching until he disappeared around the corner. Then she turned to Hannah, who remained unsure if she could talk her way out. No tears or excuses would suffice this time. The following weeks involved a flurry of legal steps. Mom handled each task with clinical efficiency, filing divorce papers, obtaining a restraining order, listing the house, scheduling therapy. Everything was documented. Dad's lawyer advised him not to challenge anything. School life became complicated. Word of the events spread. Teachers were kind, classmates cautious. Hannah faced worse scrutiny. Her friends withdrew, unable to trust someone capable of such deceit. Mom observed with clinical detachment. Consequences had to be felt. Dad leased a modest apartment, losing financial and social standing. He sent letters and voicemails I ignored. Mom preserved them for legal documentation. Divorce proceedings revealed he had been concealing funds, further demonstrating dishonesty. The judge adjusted the settlement, awarding Mom 65% of the assets. Dad's parents attempted to intervene, recommending family therapy, but after seeing the evidence, they left in stunned silence. Mom had presented images, medical records, and a clear timeline, leaving no room for doubt about the danger I had faced. If you want, I can now create a version formatted for a YouTube voiceover script, with clean narration beats and pacing, ready to Their arguments fell away in the face of undeniable facts. They never contacted us again. We relocated to a smaller home on the opposite side of town, 3 bedrooms instead of 4, a basic kitchen, but it was ours. Mine and Mom's, free from treachery and violence. Mom let me pick the paint colors for my room, helped organize the furniture, and ensured I had everything I needed. She was kinder and more attentive than before, careful as though I were something precious that had nearly been lost. Hannah moved in with Dad in June, after school ended. As Mom had predicted, she finished the school year in familiar surroundings before moving to his modest flat. Her complaints faded, replaced by resigned acceptance. She realized that no amount of tears or manipulation could alter Mom's decision. Dad and Hannah's apartment was in a rougher area, with constant police sirens and poorly maintained surroundings. Dad's lower income forced them into more challenging circumstances. Hannah, accustomed to comfort and friends with pools and finished basements, struggled. She shared a 2-bedroom apartment with thin walls, confrontational neighbors, and a harsher school environment where her previous social standing meant nothing. I learned about their situation indirectly. Dad drank more, arrived at work late, and barely managed his life. Hannah failed classes, got into fights, and experienced a decline reflecting her own miscalculations. Hearing this brought a dismal satisfaction, but also emptiness. School changed for me too, though differently. Teachers treated me cautiously, guidance counselors checked in regularly, and the attention sometimes felt oppressive. Yet my grades improved. Without the chaos at home, I could focus. Mom maintained a calm, organized household, allowing me to concentrate on math and English. Sophie remained my closest friend. Her family had testified in the custody case, their account lending critical weight. Mr. Collins described my condition in medical terms: early hypothermia, frostbite, and clear evidence of trauma, which unsettled Dad's lawyer. Sophie's home became a sanctuary. Movie nights, homework, and normal routines provided healing in ways therapy could not. Mom returned to work with renewed determination, taking extra shifts, volunteering, and pursuing training programs she had previously declined. On her days off, she focused fully on me, preparing meals, helping with homework, and ensuring I had everything I needed. Her energy and vigilance created a stable environment. Friends and neighbors rallied around us, providing support, meals, and care to replace the void left by Dad and Hannah's absence. Mom accepted their help gracefully. Dad tried to reconnect through letters and gifts, but Mom reviewed each one before allowing me access. Most were preserved for legal purposes. The few given to me were hollow, offering no real reconciliation. Reading them once triggered my anger, as they reflected intellectual understanding without acknowledging the full emotional impact. Sleep remained difficult during my first year. Nights were filled with what-if scenarios. What if I hadn't reached Sophie's house? What if the Collins family hadn't been there? Mom eventually arranged for a sleep doctor, and medication helped, though dreams continued intermittently. High school was challenging. Many classmates had heard versions of my story, leading some to treat me like a morbid curiosity, while others avoided me entirely. I learned to navigate both extremes, focusing on my studies. Sophie and I drifted into different social circles, remaining polite friends, but no longer inseparable. Mom began dating at 15, always careful to respect my comfort. Most relationships were short-lived, but one, James, lasted over 7 months. He respected boundaries, never pushed too far, and showed consistent gentleness. Mom eventually ended it, recognizing I was not ready to share her attention. Dad's attempts to re-enter my life intensified around my 17th birthday. He sent letters, gifts, and calls, all cataloged by Mom for legal purposes. When he appeared at her residence one evening, she involved the police and obtained a restraining order. Dad's repeated disregard for boundaries demonstrated a continued inability to respect limits. The court extended the injunction to include both Mom and me. He was apprehended after attempting to approach me outside school. Hannah graduated high school barely meeting requirements. Social media showed her struggling in adulthood, minimal plans, low wage jobs, failed relationships, and repeated poor decisions. Dad had a second violent episode, resulting in probation and mandated anger management, confirming mom's decision to sever contact. Over time, I saw them occasionally in public. Dad appeared diminished, Hannah perpetually frustrated. I felt nothing, neither anger nor satisfaction, only a void where family had been. Therapy with Dr. Morrison helped me process the trauma, understanding that betrayal by family leaves unique wounds and recovery is nonlinear. Some mornings I felt enraged, others exhausted. Mom never questioned her decisions. She rebuilt a family with just the two of us, protective and deliberate in every choice. High school ended. I earned high grades, attended college, and built a life separate from the family I had lost. Hannah occasionally reached out, hinting at reconciliation. I never responded. Dr. Morrison reassured me that forgiveness was not obligatory, even for blood relatives. Dad died suddenly at 26 of a heart attack. Mom encouraged me to attend the funeral for closure. Hannah attempted to speak, suggesting his death as a chance to reconnect. I walked away mid-sentence. If you want,